Blessings, blessings. How's everybody doing on this fine evening? It's been I'd like to say a few days, but it's been probably more like a few months since we've been together. Hi, everybody. It's Rev Roni here, and I am coming to you live through Facebook. And for those who are watching this and outside of the realm of Facebook and aren't familiar, my name is Rev Roni Lipstein, known to most as simply Rev Roni, and I am a metaphysical minister, holistic life guidance therapist, intuitive mystic, empathic, holistic healer. And if you want more information, please visit my website at Rhonda with an RH, Cheryl with an YL, Lipstein with an EIN, .com. And you can learn more about me there, as well as, of course, visiting my Facebook pages, Roni Lipstein and Rhonda Cheryl Lipstein on Facebook, as well as a slew of others, actually. So if you go to those ones, you'll find more. So it's been a while, and since we've last had the opportunity to journey here together through Facebook, I have gone through quite the phenomenally fantastic journeys, both of blossoming bliss and terror simultaneously. And I wanted to touch upon that a little bit today. It's impossible for me to get through it in the depth and the breadth and the heights to which I experienced myself most recently, but also just throughout one's life journey. We go through many cycles of growth and transcendence and evolution. And, you know, it's said that you're born, you live, and you die. But the reality is that we have many lives within the one life that we're living here in this manifested form. And in those many lives, many cycles in which many parts die and many are reborn and many are born anew. And as much as any one of we may have achieved grandiose bolts, skyrockets of transcending ascension, there's always more. Existence is infinite, and as a result of the infinity of existence, and one can intersplice the words that we utilize with respect to existence. You can say energy, you can say information, as every molecule of energy is filled with a plethora of information, and the more energy that we come into contact with and the more that we are able to allow to stream through us, the more energy, the more information that we are receiving. And again, infinite is the breadth by which we may go through this, and not just in this incarnate lifetime, but just period in general. We are continuously afforded the opportunity. Having said that, part of the opportunity for growth that we are afforded in any given now is an opportunity that is provided by smoothing out the aspects of me that are or were either standing in the way of, blocking, or we were merely too filled up with said energy to allow anything new to come through. My mind is going into metaphors because it likes to do that when trying to make a point. So one can imagine a cup can only hold so much liquid until it's full, and you either have to drink it, spill it out, do something in order to be able to add in new. And there's a saying that most of us have heard by now: the only way in or out is through. And essentially, I'm going to drink some of my water now, but the only way to add to my cup of water is for me to do something with the water that's in there. And I can't make pretend that it's not there. We could, I suppose, make pretend that our fears, which generally speaking is what's keeping us from embracing new information, we could make pretend every time a fear comes up, we could just divert our attention away. And we can keep doing it until the point that the fears that we may have once had actually have dissipated, because so much time and space has been put into place that we don't even have the memory of it anymore, though the body might still retain it. And so then that might take a little bit longer of making pretend and just ignoring. And that's definitely a pathway that we can take. It's not a very fast one, which is not to say that facing our fears is necessarily fast per se, but it's definitely a more direct route, and definitely one that is more invigorating in that it's more cleansing, it's more healing, acknowledging, it's more loving to face something than to make pretend that it's not. Although sometimes it's more loving to let something have the time to quiet until it's ready to be seen. This is very true. Divine delicate dance. It is to walk the balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which is the role of the human species with the intellect and the consciousness that we have in this incarnate world to do. I would say, however, that on a whole, if we are wanting to, and I don't want to say better ourselves, because it's not so much about bettering ourselves so that I can better me, you know, I'm going to be a superstar, as much as it is about, I want to love me, and I want to love this life that I know is a miracle, that I know is not lasting, that is short in comparison to the infinity of existence itself. And if we are wanting to be able to take advantage of this gift that we call life, this miraculous, marvelous, magical gift, the only way that we can enjoy more of it is to be that much more comfortable with the I in me that we love ourselves to be. And therefore, to allow more of that me to be seen, to be shared, to be the me that other members of we are greeting when we are out in the world and interacting with others. Because that's the me that really is going to give the lift to others. It's the me that is openly expressing the special gifts that each and every one of us have come here to our Earth School with. Every single one of us comes here with special gifts, which could be the exact same as another million of us, but they're still uniquely yours because they're coming through you in only the way that you can bring them through. For example, there's many other wonderful light weaving holistic healers out there, and many of them who do the same things that I do. They do talk therapy, they do live videos, web TV shows, they've written books, they do speaking. They could have the whole rundown of all that I do, and yet still they do it their way and I do it my way. And there's people in our human family who are more harmoniously resonant with my way, and others who are more harmoniously resonant with someone else's way. It doesn't make anyone less or more special. It's just that we all are special. We all have special gifts. Some of us have this an unbelievable knack for dance, others for painting, others for math, others for organization, and on it goes. And when we are feeling our best, anything that we touch, we're able to do even that much better than we would otherwise. So, and again, it's not about being better. It's about being authentic. It's about being the me that we authentically are. When we get rid of the fears of, oh, they're judging me. Oh, I might say the wrong thing. Oh, I might do the wrong thing. Oh, somebody's going to think something. And then when we get rid of all of that, and it's just me, the me that I would be when I'm looking in the mirror on my own and I'm really loving myself and I'm not worried about being judged. That me. If we were all that me, yes? Are you with me? Everybody was the me they loved themselves to be. Imagine. I mean, I just got shivers imagining the giggles and the laughter and the sweetness, and everybody is uplifting everybody else, because when you're feeling good, you want others to feel good with you. You want them to celebrate with you. You want them to be able to see the beauty and the bliss that life is with you, because we want to celebrate together. I mean, it's great to celebrate on our own, but it's so much more fun when we get to party with people that are partying with us and that we're comfortable playing with and we're just comfortable being with, right? Right. So getting there is getting through our fears, because really what keeps us ever from being the fullness of me, but our fears of being judged, fears of not being good enough, being less than, being too much. But you know, you can break them down into a whole slew of like anxiety, frustration, aggravation, irritation, worry, blah blah blah, but all basically our fears. And when we're feeling elation, and not cuckoo crazy elation, but elation, like I'm feeling great about me and life and you and this world, when we're feeling bliss, when we're feeling serenity, when we're calm, when we're relaxed, all of those essentially can be brought into one moniker called love. So we have fear or love. And by love, I'm speaking to Namaste Love. So essentially, those are the two choices. One has us wearing masks and hiding and, you know, protective gear. And the other one just has us being. We're comfortable, we're calm, we're happy. And in order to get to that, we need to get through what's preventing us from being that, and those are our fears. And I'm speaking about this now because I'm feeling that there is major shifts. I don't want to say that there's major shifts happening now. I'd like to say that major shifts have been happening for a while, but we're starting to see the results. And as a result of seeing the results, more members of our human family who may not necessarily be as consciously committed, dedicated, or aware, just in general, are starting to become. And so it's important. It's important for those of us who are very aware to be conscious of this, so that we can assist those who are becoming aware to have an easier time and to be more conscious, so that they can assist the next and the next and the next until we're all simply just being. Consciousness paradigms are shifting palpably. You can taste it, you can touch it, you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it. It's all around us. And as much as there is horrors and tortures, there is an awakening that is happening that is undeniable at this point. And to get through the awakening is to face the fears, which can be daunting. indeed horrifying and terrifying, especially if we're going at it alone, which we don't have to. Taken from one who tends to go at it alone, which I do. And I have come from pondering to think that possibly because I do what I do, I go at it alone, not with conscious intention. It just happens to be my life. So I can say I've been there, and it was exhilarating and terrifying, but I made it through, and I am better for it. So much better for it. And so, as discomforting and off-putting and, in fact, downright terrifying as it was at times to what some call walk through the shadow land or face my shadow or walk through the valley of fears, as I call it, or simply face fears that are within me, it was beyond well worth it to allow for the realization, the awareness, the acknowledgement, the information that I have garnered, the wisdom that I am now able to experience by living in the awareness and the knowledge that I have garnered, as well as having gone through what I've gone through. Which is strange coming from me, who does not like that we go through the difficulties, as some call it, or opportunities for growth, as I prefer to say it. As I would prefer that we were all simply living a life of bliss, because I know that it's possible. And I know that we're getting there, and I am grateful that we are the way showers, and we are the pathway makers, and the pathfinders, and the weed whackers, and yes, and the pioneers, and what an awesome, auspicious designation that each of we has chosen to be. It's just a little frustrating when you are one who can see and you know that the possibilities are there in a world that's telling you that it's anything but. But still, with unbelievable and yet believable gratitude am I for having gone through this so that I can be here with all of you now to share. You don't have to go through it alone, but, and I don't want to say you have to go through it. Again, you can bury your head in the sand. You can choose to lead a life that is more of a shallow shell rather than one that is authentic and full, which comes when we face our fears, because we face them. And when we face them, we disarm the terror that they come with and recognize that it's nothing more than a small little child or a starving animal that we have not been feeding or taking care of or nurturing, that is desperately seeking our love and attention and affection and approval and embrace and acknowledgement. And when we recognize this, the monstrous sides of us, the parts that we're so embarrassed, oh my gosh, don't look at me, are suddenly not so monstrous, not so hard to look at, not so difficult to see, and definitely so much easier to hold, to coddle, to embrace and comfort. Yes, it's okay. I know you fucked up. Holy shit, you were really scared, weren't you? You said some horrible things. You didn't mean it, did you? No, you were so afraid. I'm so sorry that you were so afraid. And that was really, they were so hurt by that. Maybe we can do something about that. But if you don't look, you don't have those conversations, you don't hold yourself, then you stay stuck. There is no thought process of, oh, maybe we can speak to them, or maybe we can take this action, or maybe inspiration for the maybes of potential to soothe, to heal, to fix, to transcend, to repair, to make amends. They're just not there because we're not looking. And if we don't look, we don't see. It's shallow. You can't breathe as well. If you want it full, because there's so much fullness to be had, you have to go through what's getting in the way of the fullness. And the fullness, oh my gosh, to feel the fullness of love's bliss, love's gratitude, even the fullness of regret and feelings of failure and sadness and mourning and grief, to feel the fullness, to allow those feelings to go through you and feel them, but in a safe place, in a space that you know you can go in, get deep, because you're going to come out. And it's going to be light and airy and sweet. Could be even seductive. One never knows. What's on the other side? What's awaiting one's embrace until we go through? Because until we go through, there's no space to see anything, to know anything, to experience it. We're just stuck. And it's suffocating. It's hard to breathe, and it's hard to pick up our head and look around and see all of the gorgeousness and the beauty that is, because we're drowning in the horrors and the terrors. And the reality is that we have to face the fears, and facing a fear, well, it's a fear. Duh. It's not a, yay, I'm going to face my fears kind of an experience. Although, obviously, if you work with somebody, like if you were working with me and we were journeying together, it would be more comfortable, for sure. I'm with you right there. But it doesn't mean that there won't be tears. It doesn't mean there won't be anger. The emotions are going to come up, but you'll feel safer to experience them, to go into them, to look at them, to be in the experience. Because you know you're going to come through, because I ain't going to let you drown. I'm not going to leave you there all by yourself. You aren't going to be stranded. And you're going to come out on the other side, and it's going to be beautiful and bright. And there might be a sadness. There might be a time for mourning, holding space for that, but it will be held with love's gratitude and beauty and acceptance. Because you've dealt with the pain. You've dealt with the things that have been getting in the way. So you can experience whatever there is to experience with greater ease. You can flow through with greater comfort. But we have to go through it. If our consciousness is to expand, which by virtue of being in an infinite existence, evolution is continuously happening whether we want it to or not. This is what we go through, and we can make it as easy or as difficult for ourselves as we want these opportunities for growth to be. And these opportunities for growth or blossoming or blooming, like the chakras opening into the 1,000-petal lotus, which is continuously, seemingly opening in breath. Continuously are we blooming, because it's infinite existence. So we are always growing doesn't mean that we're always less than. There's just always more. Always more. It's not that we are greedy or we're never satisfied. It's simply the nature of that which is existence. It's infinite. And so every breath, even though it's similar to the last one, is a new one. And while you may not consciously be aware, there are cells within you that are aware that there's new particles in the breath that you've just taken that are slightly different than the one you took before. And by virtue of that difference, are you evolving because you are having a new experience just by the breath that your body is taking in? There is no need to be judgmental and point fingers at ourselves for wanting more. It's just by virtue something that is. We don't have to want it, it is. But in having the experience of the more is releasing as well. And if we are wanting to ascend and transcend to states of more authenticity in which we are experiencing more bliss as opposed to more shit, more fears, more anxieties, then we must face that which is in the way. And as I am repeating myself, as I've noticed, I think I have come to the conclusion of our little journey here today. I don't know if anybody wanted to ask any questions. I can give you a moment or two if there's anything you wanted to ask or share with me. I believe that Facebook has the ability to. Oh, somebody has written. I just want to say hi to Satinder Dylan Bhatia. Love to you as well. Love to you, blessedly be. I was just loving to you too. My screen as on the computer as opposed to here. So yes, we go through the fears, and let me just quickly add that the more you go through and the more aware you become, and the more you assist yourself to face things. For example, because I'm dedicated, my life is dedicated to it. If a fear comes up inside of me, I can actually feel my I inside taking my mind, essentially as though I'm taking my face. And as my mind is turning away, and I don't want to look at the fear, I can feel it going, no, we're going to look, honey, look, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to look. It's okay to get emotional. It's okay to see. The fears that come up become more minuscule because, eventually you face your fears. The more you begin to face them, the easier they get, the more you can own, oh, I have social anxieties. Oh, I can feel vulnerable if I'm being asked to share personal information about, because, when I was younger, I had this experience and then it triggers. So the more that we get comfortable just talking about it, and the easier it gets, when we get to more and more higher or deeper levels, as we are evolving in our consciousness, the fears that come up can either be more what one might call surface or shallow fears, but they're actually really, really deeply embedded, silly fears that as an adult you can look and go, why? Because they're fears from our childhood. But they're so deep that we haven't looked at them, and then they come up now as an adult, for example, but it's a child fear that's coming up, and it can be just as overwhelming as it was for you when you were a child, because that's how we let it go, is to experience it, look at it, feel it, and be like, okay, honey, relax. It's okay. So bringing that up to say, don't judge yourself for the fears that arise. The fears that came up for me this past summer were some of the silliest, most minuscule of fears, like, really my own personal internal thoughts that my mind would have coming through, which, I would think were not the nicest, and they weren't the nicest, but they weren't really thoughts that I owned as much as a thought that maybe my mind caught onto and my attention became aware of, and I was just like, ooh, that's not nice. And all of a sudden there was this whole horrific judgment about this really silly thought, like, ew, I don't like that music this person is playing, like, ugh. And then all of a sudden in my mind, I'm like judging myself for being, judgmental about someone's music, and how can you be like that? And there's this whole try not to get too judgmental about the fears that are coming up. Recognize that they serve a deeper purpose. And as silly and minuscule as they may be, the doors that they will open to love are magnanimous in comparison. But the fears are real, and you don't want to also belittle or judge your mind for having them, because the part of you, which might be a 5-year-old child who's feeling horrific about that, is feeling, those are authentic feelings for that part of you, and they need to be acknowledged. But we want to try to do it all as lovingly as possible. So we go into it with love. We do our best when we're going through it to stay attached to love. I like to tell my angel partners, that's what I call my clients, especially if they're not with me, to imagine that they've put an anchor around their waist, that they've got it held on to a very solid place before they dive into the fears. And that place is held with Namaste Love, which is why people come to me, because I become that. And I hold them as they go deep in, and I also go deep in with them, but I'm also the rock of the Namaste Love that they know they're going to come back out to. So we have to really do our best to align ourselves with love, that when we're diving in to look at the fears, we know our way back out. And if we can't find our way back out, we've got our secondary lifelines in place, phone numbers of people we can call if we're not going in with somebody like myself, a therapist, a guide light, a healer, and so on and so forth, if we're doing it on our own. And that we're doing it as consciously aware as we can, so we're aware if we're getting stuck in loops. We're aware if all of a sudden hours have passed by and we're sad and crying and we can't get out of it. The numbers are there and we know we have to call them, and we call them. Otherwise, don't do it on your own, right? That's part of doing it right. Doing it with Namaste Love is doing what's right for you. You don't go diving into the deepest of waters without an oxygen tank. Well, you don't go diving into the deepest fears without knowing that you've got what you require. And that's different for everyone. Some people require someone like myself to go in with. Others require incense. That's it, that's all, and they're good to go. Others require full-on ceremonies. Others, other things. Know yourself. Take the time to know and set things up. And it's always better to have more than less when you're doing something like this. So get more tools, get more resources, especially if it's not something you're accustomed to doing. And if you are, get more anyways. It's always better to have more in something like this on reserve, just in case. And then to come out, of course, into Namaste Love, for of course that is the objective, is to become ever more holistically aligned with our authenticity, which I say is our authenticity for those who like to quip about what is actually authentic and not authentic. Is it really an existence of Namaste Love or just energy? Is it simply, or is there waves of who knows what, this, that, or that? Is because as a human species in this incarnated form, we are at our healthiest state of wellness when we are aligned with Namaste Love. Our optimal state of homeostasis is achieved when we are aligned with Namaste Love, as opposed to fear. Hence, for no other reason whatsoever than to be the healthiest that you can be, so that you can actually enjoy this life with whomever, however, wherever, and whenever you want to do it, is a good enough reason to do it for your health and wellness. Because I can tell you, as many of you already know, if you ain't got your health, you ain't enjoying anything. So On that note, my sweet beauties, thank you so very much for joining me here this evening. I send forth blessings that I will be able to join you all here more often and hopefully on a more routine basis. Until then, blessings, blessings, blessings galore to each and every one of you, that you may be aligned with Namaste Love in every now, in all ways, always, with the greatest of ease, the greatest of love's grace, comfort, joy, sweetness, and bliss, shared and experienced with all those you hold near and dear to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very much for being you. Mwah! Blessedly be, beauties, blessedly be.